Hi, my name's Trevor, and I'm an 18-year-old. I have a very interesting, yet tragic story to tell you. But before that, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to show your support to me. My story begins from the time when I was 13 years old. My home environment was not that pleasant. I think my dad was involved in some illegal business, and we had to keep moving every few months. I often heard my dad saying that we had to lay low, or we'll be in big trouble, and stuff like that. Amidst all the chaos, my parents never had the time to pay attention to me. It was as if I was invisible to them. My mom was obsessed with money and luxury, and dad was providing her all of that through his illegal business. So, both of them were happy. As for me, I had no idea what was going on in my life. My parents didn't even enroll me in a school, because apparently it was too risky, and the authorities could track them down. I had to study online. I wasn't allowed to interact with anyone, so I never even made friends. You can say I was living a pretty boring and lonely life. Anyway, one day, my mom suddenly rushed inside my room and told me to pack my belongings. Huh? Why? Are we moving again? I asked in confusion. No, we're leaving the city. Now don't ask questions and do as I say, she ordered. Pack all the necessary and expensive things in your room. I nodded. Okay, I'll be down in 15 minutes. It looked like my parents were in a hurry this time. Maybe Dad was in big trouble, because we never left the city before. I quickly packed everything I needed and went downstairs to find my parents already waiting for me. I got inside the car and we drove to the airport. My mom told me to wait in the lounge while she got something to eat. And Dad said that he was going to make some inquiries. I was left alone amidst strangers. I didn't even have a phone to pass time, so in the end, I leaned back and closed my eyes. I don't know for how long I was sleeping, but when I woke up again, there was no one around me. I got up and looked around for my parents. I could easily tell that many hours had passed, and yet, they weren't here. A bad feeling started making its way to my stomach. Mom! Dad! I called out. There was no response. A security guard noticed me and asked me who I was looking for. My parents. They went to get some food and I fell asleep. I can't find them, I said in an unstable voice. Which flight are you boarding? He asked. I don't know. All I know is that we were supposed to leave at 7:30 p.m., I replied. Kid, it's 10 p.m. already, the guard said hesitantly. Are you sure about the timing of the flight? I knew it then. I'd been abandoned. There was no other explanation. I was just a baggage for my parents, so it didn't come as a surprise to me. I plopped down on a chair and tried to calm myself down. Hey, don't worry. I'll go back and make inquiries about the flight your parents boarded. Can you give me their names? The security guard asked. I gave him the names, and he left. It was during this time that a group of air hostesses arrived at the lounge. I don't know what I was doing then, because I tried to erase the memory from my mind. But I must have been crying. Or maybe I appeared pitiable to them. They approached me and asked me what was wrong. I burst into tears and told them the whole story. The security guard came rushing back and told me that there were no passengers by the name of my parents. I realized then that I was so stupid. They must have used fake identities to board the flight. And I was pretty sure that they boarded a different flight, so as to not get caught. Don't worry, you know their numbers, right? One of the hostesses asked. We'll contact them. No, they don't have a permanent number, I said. And there's no use looking for them. They did this on purpose. Not even searching the CCTV cameras is going to help. My parents are skilled in disguising themselves. They have years of practice. Everyone seemed stunned by my words. Oh well, I guess it's not every day you hear someone say such things. You know what? You must be hungry, the hostess said. Come, we'll eat something first. I was really hungry, so I went with them. Besides, they seemed like nice people. The worst had already happened. What could a group of hostesses do to me? I'm Miley, one of them said with a smile. What's your name? Trevor, I replied. All of them introduced themselves to me, and then they asked me about my age, school, and other stuff. I told them everything honestly, and what my parents really were. I guess they finally understood the gravity of the situation, and that my parents were never going to come back. But where will you go now, Trevor? Miley asked in concern. I shrugged. I don't know. An orphanage, maybe? Or an adoption center? Tamara, who was the eldest in the group, shook her head. You know what? I was thinking of adopting a child recently. You appeared at the perfect moment, Trevor. We'll first go to the authorities and tell them the whole story, she continued. And once all the complications are out of the way, I will legally adopt you. Whoa! This was not what I was expecting. How could such nice people exist? I used to think that everyone was selfish like my parents. But in a short amount of time, these air hostesses had proved me wrong. The next few days were a series of running from this place to that place and talking to some officials. Tamara took time off from her work so that she could accompany me everywhere. In the end, everything was sorted out, and I was legally adopted by Tamara. Though, it actually felt like I was adopted by the whole group of air hostesses. I practically started living in flights, and my family consisted of these hostesses who couldn't stop fussing over me. They used to bring me everywhere with them, and took care of my meals and everything else. I even got to travel to so many countries and cities for free. It was a whole new world to me. My biological parents had never allowed me to leave the house. And now, I was out all day, having fun and doing whatever I wanted to. Tamara, Miley, and the others used to take care of my studies too, and help me with the online learning. I even made friends all over the world, though I couldn't visit them all the time. But I still stayed in touch with them. Everything was exciting and thrilling. I don't know why I cried when my parents left me. They did me a favor, to be honest. Thanks to them, my life took a complete 180-degree turn, and I was actually happy for once. Tamara also introduced me to the pilot. His name was Blake, and he was a very admirable person. At first, I was nervous around him, but it turned out that he was very easygoing and approachable. I started spending more time with Blake. He would often tell me about different types of careers and how I could make a decision in the future. He also talked passionately about his job, and that's what got me interested in flying a plane. I decided that I would become a pilot in the future. Just like this, a few years passed, living and learning with the air hostesses and Blake. My studies were going smoothly too, and I was scoring really good marks. Tamara was as kind and caring as ever. She was even ready to quit her job for me, so that we could settle down in one place. But I stopped her from doing that. I had become used to traveling with her everywhere, and now, the idea of staying at one place sounded too boring and horrific. Blake was like a father figure to me. He used to guide me in the right direction whenever I faced a conflict. And he also supported my decision to pursue the career of a pilot. My 18th birthday was celebrated at the airport. All these people who I considered as my family were present to wish me on the day. And all the friends that I made over the last few years flew in to wish me too. Honestly, it was the best birthday ever. I would have never imagined that my life would change like this. As my birthday present, Blake promised that he would train me as a pilot. And I couldn't have asked for anything more. Everything was going too well for me so far, wasn't it? I got so used to all this happiness that I started taking it for granted. So, I guess fate decided to punish me. A few weeks later, I was at the airport. Blake had called me to commence my training and go over some other details. I had just entered the airport in excitement when I bumped into someone. Oh, sorry, I apologized. But when I saw the person's face, I froze on the spot. It was my so-called dad, the man who had abandoned me 5 years ago at this very place. The way he gasped told me that he recognized me too. Even though I wanted to say a lot of things, my heart didn't want to acknowledge him. I decided to treat him like a stranger and proceeded on my way. Hopefully he got the message. I went ahead and saw Blake waiting for me. He smiled and waved at me. Now, That was the man that I considered to be my real father. "Let's go, Trevor." Blake patted my back. "I have made all the arrangements. You better become a good pilot like me," he finished jokingly. "I will." I smiled and followed after him.